lot?
Yeah.
Do you like it if it's delivered by a tall blonde man?
Yes.
Good, because next up we have David McKay. One, two, three. Is this working?
No.
Okay.
It's not.
Oh, hello. I can hear myself. Hey everybody. Thanks for coming out to Fearless Comedy. Yeah, it's been one crazy weekend. How many of you have been here for like multiple shows? Getting your money's worth. That's great. Well, as they said, I'm here to do stand-up comedy. I read a book all about stand-up comedy, which of course means I should be able to do it quite well just by reading a book about it, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, you know what I read, it said first thing you want to do is really connect with your audience. Say something that's very relatable, that like everyone can kind of agree on. And so, I hate all mankind. Shoot. God. Ooh. Well, let me rephrase. Mankind. I mean men of the world. Mankind. Like, the whole heteronormative, the whole kind of white male privilege patriarchy. I hate the patriarchy. Yay, get a couple more people. You know, I know you look at me and you're like, well, what? You got the most privilege yourself? What, do you hate yourself? Well, yeah. But also, I mean, you know, we all hate ourselves a little bit. But honestly, since the election, oh boy, since the election, I just feel like if I'm walking down the street, people are kind of glaring at me. Like, you did this, you. And I did not do this. You know, I feel like people are gonna come up to me and say, you know, oh yeah, hey, you look like you're on World War II propaganda posters, but for the other side. You know, people are gonna come up to me and there's gonna be like, oh, so how was the Hitler Youth? And I'm like, you know what? Wait. Kindergarten is a German word. Uh-oh. Is that what that, oh shoot. It seemed different to me. Excuse me. Getting over the cold that everyone has here. And so, you know, and this is the most privileged thing of all, of course, is the world's crumbling around us, and I'm worried about my own hurt feelings and like mean stares at me. Like, okay, yes, let's get some real problems. But I'm kind of in a unique position because I encounter people who are a part of that problem and who assume I'm one of them, right? They'll come up and talk to me and whatnot, like in bars, or I recently changed workout clubs. I used to be at a place that, well, I don't want to say the name, but it's
Say it.
possibly located in LA. And I switched to the YWCA just because there's a whole different atmosphere. I mean, especially after the election, there's a lot of talk in the election about locker room talk, right? It's like, oh, that's just guys talking in the locker room. And there actually is a lot of that in locker rooms. And you know, it's, come in. Thank you for joining me. I'll catch you up. No, there's too much. Locker room talk. And it's one of those things where it's like, you're not sure how much to interact when people are saying things, right? Like at the LA Fitness, you know, I hear people say, you know, well, I don't know what I would do if I saw a dude checking me out. Well, I do not know what I would do. And it's like, you know what? You're literally working yourself out to death to just get anyone to look at you, to get any kind of attention at all. You would be so complimented. You would just be like, oh, are you looking at me? Oh, I'm so angry. Look at my veins pop out in my anger. Oh, don't objectify me, but look. And like I said, I don't know how much to engage or not engage. And at first, when I'd encounter this kind of thing, I would kind of want to talk to them a little bit about that. Talked about, well, where is this coming from? You know, one guy, there's a specific time I talked to a guy and I said, so, you know, you're saying things that I would consider homophobic, and, you know, I think if you thought about it, right? Freud would say maybe you're experiencing some repression, some transference, and some latent urges that you just need to deal with. You say, who? I'm like, Sigmund Freud? Like, oh, gay. What? Oh yeah, saw him. You saw Sigmund Freud? Oh yeah, Las Vegas show with the lions and tigers. This actually happened. I was like, okay, so you think I'm giving you clinical terms from psychology via a Las Vegas sparkly animal app that's in a casino by Siegfried and Roy. This is the what you think is happening right here. It's one of those things where, like I said, they feel like I'm one of them and they'll want to chit chat. And I know many of you have been kind of mansplained to before, right? We all kind of know what mansplaining is. Well, they do this to other men too. Like they will just tell you things that you do not need to know, that is not information, but they would full of advice. And this is at the workout club, so obviously there's lots of workout advice, which I don't necessarily need, but but dating advice. They just like want to tell you all this dating advice because they're all huge consumers of all this pickup artist literature, right? If you guys heard of this, like, and there's groups, the pickup artist community. It's like, it's a community. And they love to read and share all this stuff. Excuse me. And so, for example, they'll want to give you advice. What is that advice you would think? Well, the first thing they're like, well, you need to insult women. Oh yeah, you need to put them in their place. Yeah, because they love that. It's like they do. Oh yeah, you gotta nag them. Yeah. It's like, so you insult them, and this is getting you dates? No, not at all, none. They hate it. They hate everything about it. They hate me. They hate my pets. They hate all my pictures online. Well, what's the next step that they do? They're like, yeah, you nag. Oh yeah, you slut shame them. Yeah, make them feel bad for wanting to have sex. And it's like, so have you not thought that forward of this is someone you want to have sex with, and you're trying to make them think sex is bad? It's like you haven't fully planned this out. And one of the really interesting things about this kind of network, it's also connected to the men's rights activists, right? If you've heard of them, they're all kind of interconnected in that they're all kind of completely obsessed, yet also completely hate women, right? Which is so bizarre. It's kind of how I feel about Doctor Who. So I understand a little. But like their entire existence, and they create a whole language of terms about that connection with women that they don't have, that they're utter failures at trying to create. So some examples of those terms. Well, to backtrack one sec. So the process of trying to create a language is trying to define reality. It's actually a process that's known as hailing in cultural studies. So for example, if you're walking down the street and someone shouts out, hey asshole, and if you turn around, then you're acknowledging you're an asshole, right? You're saying, yes, that is, I heard my call, yes. I'm the asshole in this community. What can my people do for you, citizen? So if you buy into the terms that they're using, well then that's their attempt to have you buy into that reality. So some of the terms that they have as you kind of work up into their different phases of success, you can become a incel. If you've ever heard that term, that is an involuntary celibate, right? So they say, oh yeah, you should become, read this pickup artist stuff, and if you work hard and if you nag women and slut shame, then you can become an involuntary celibate. It's like, well, that doesn't sound like something I need to work at. That sounds like something that I could probably do very little toward and be successful at being a celibate. And the really weird thing is there's another term. After you've succeeded at that for a while, some of them become a volcel. which is what it sounds, a voluntary celibate. Now this is if you somehow could maybe use reverse psychology, but on yourself somehow, right? You've decided, you know what, no, I want to be celibate, yeah. All the women who, they're not rejecting me, they all want me. Yeah, in theory, they're just all over, and I'm saying, no, I will not give you that power. Some other terms, and again, they're using these to try to create a reality that people agree with. They use the terms alphas and betas, right? Some of you might have heard these used. An alpha is someone who's dominant, right? And a beta is someone who is submissive. And so in their literature, you have to be dominant in order for, well, to get women to like you. But it's the alphas who are the incels and the volcels are all the ones who are celibate. And the betas are the ones who, in fact, are the ones actually having sex. And they put these words together by the logic of their own construction of this reality they're trying to get us all to buy into. A term that's started to be used here and there is a beta cuck. Beta cuck. I know it sounds like I'm saying beta cock. That'd be something different. That'd be like, you know, if you had a secondary cock, if you had a flat, you're like, oh yeah, it's out of air. Yeah, I can see a hole right in it. Yeah, I got to get the beta out of your place. No. Beta cook. And now the term is redundant because it's a submissive. It doesn't make sense to say, oh, you're a non-dominant submissive, right? So you're just being a beta cook tease by using the term beta cook. You're double submissive. Another term that they've been using, especially in political arena, is a cuckservative, which is cuckservative. This is a Republican who works with Democrats. So again, this is something that doesn't seem to exist, right? You're inventing something. Just because you create a word for something doesn't mean that thing is a real thing. It's one of those things where you could give advice like, well, why don't you just try being nice? And they'll say, oh, no, then you're being submissive, but also you're virtue signaling. It's like virtue signaling, yes. So imagine the mindset you would have to have if you think that if you're nice for more than a few minutes, it's because you're showing off. You're showing off that you're nice. You can't be real. You can't be a real, actual nice person. I often wonder if perhaps, why is it that I have this perspective that seems so alien to the dude bros? Because again, they try to recruit you and I'll be like, I'm not going to be your protege. No, not your protege, dude bro. Nah. Fine, you're too good for such humor. All right. I think that part of the reason that I'm, I don't know why I am against patriarchy, and I think part of it is because, I would accuse them of having these latent feelings, and I'm privileged in the way that sexuality is just kind of boring. I'm just straight. I'm just so I don't necessarily have hang-ups. I don't have anything against. I recently was at a party, and a guy propositioned my girlfriend and I to have a threesome. And I was just kind of I really want to get 16 hours of sleep, and it sounds like that'd be a lot of work. If I had a beta cock, maybe it would be handy in this situation. But and so I was boring, right? I was like, let's just all go back to our own beds and get a good night's sleep. It was probably a missed opportunity because I'm boring. We all probably just ended up doing the same things, going home, opening up our computers and masturbating to Facebook pictures of me. Just a normal night. I mean, like I said, I don't have anything wrong with fetishes or anything sexual that people want to do that I'm not into. A friend of mine once accused me of kink shaming. Because, Trump came out with this whole urine story, you guys remember? And I made some jokes about it because it seemed ridiculous. Excuse me. My friend said, well, hey, don't yuck my yum. Don't kink shame. It's like, you can't just say that something is a kink and so just do whatever you want. You can't be like, did you light that car on fire? I did, but I masturbated and I got off so hard. It's like, it just doesn't, just because something is a kink doesn't mean it's okay for you to do whatever. Boy, that'd be hard to say kink. If that was would you, your wife would be at home listening to the news and they'd be, there's a car fire down on 35, and she'd be like, where is Jerry? Where? Oh, son of a gun. Yeah, I mean, I don't have hang-ups. So, the kinkiest thing that I could think of is, I think women who are a little messy are better in bed. There's been studies about this. People who are messy tend to be better in bed. Right? It's true. I mean, my ideal date, my ideal situation, she would drive up in a car that's just full of to-go containers, just half full still. She'd open the door and you'd have a million Starbucks straws just spilling all over. She'd be like, oh, let me make some space for you. It's like, no, just let me be awash in your littering. Oh, no. She'd take you back to her place, lets you inside, and there's enough pet dander that there's a whole new ecosystem has evolved. You go in and there's 5 Christmas trees in the corner for some reason. You're just like, this is gonna be hot. She's gonna hurt me. Well, this is dangerous. This is a fire hazard, but it's kind of hot. When I say messy, that I think messy women are hot, I'm not talking sex in a porta potty messy. I'm not talking messy. No, porta potties are. You're laughing, so at Renaissance Festival last year, someone was caught having sex in one of those porta potties. Yeah. You guys ever go to Renaissance Festival? Maybe a couple people? I wouldn't have sex in a porta potty. Those things they're scary. You ever make a mistake and look down inside of one of them and it's just you black out and you wake up petting a puppy for some reason? It's I don't know what happened or where it went. Just trying to not think about it. Man, well, I might have a little trauma. I had an experience with one of those porta potties last Renaissance Festival. I went into one. And I was not thinking at my best, had a couple drinks and whatnot, but I went in and, went to the bathroom, obviously, and I hadn't checked to see if there was toilet paper beforehand, which it would be a good idea, because it's not like it's a normal, you can knock on the next door neighbor and they can bring some over or something. And so I'm just in my slightly inebriated state, I thought to myself, I went and ripped, and it's okay, there's a little tiny half sheet of toilet paper. There's this whole thing of hand sanitizer. And if I just dump a whole bunch and just get a real good layer of hand sanitizer, that would be cleaner, right? That's kind of cleaner than just toilet paper. So I'm just that would be great. And there's a cluster of nerves apparently. That are very sensitive, and then when I tried for a second, it was great. For a millisecond, I was like, why doesn't everyone do this? This is the best idea in the world. For a millisecond. And then it was burning, fire, is it possible to be on fire? And at that point, I'm clawing around, I'm is there nothing, if there was a turkey drumstick, I would use it, if I was ever going to try going gay, it would have been at that moment. Anything I could have used, but there wasn't anything there. For once, one of those porta potties was just completely cleaned out. if my ideal girlfriend had been there previously, there'd be all kinds of shit. So I did what I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to use my underwear. But I was in a costume too, which had boots, and I don't know what they're making underwear out of these days, but I tried to just rip it off, and it's like, this is some space age shit. Like, you just can't. And so I'm just like slowly unbelting my belt and undoing my buckles as I'm just like burning, am I dying? Get my underwear and use it and just throw it down there, because it's not like plumbing and it's gonna get it plugged or anything. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I'm messy. I don't want things too messy. Camping sex. Like, to me, okay, day one of camping, sure. But after that, I don't feel like it's sanitary. And I mean, the last time I went camping, I went with a friend and then some people who I didn't know. Because what better way to get to know people than to be stranded out with them camping for 5 days? And it was pretty fun, but one of the couples was like having sex very loud every night. And as we've established, I like to have like 16 hours of sleep a night. And so again, I didn't want to be like, yuck, they're yum, or be like, oh, hey, keep it down. But like, dude, they're shouty. So after a few days, we were at the fire, and one of them, like, not that they're bragging, but they're like, oh yeah, it's so much fun. I wish I had brought some lube, because we just having so much camping sex. And when they said this, my girlfriend gave me a slow, steady look, as if to say, don't ruin this for me. And I was like, what? And she said, oh, what works really good is some hand gel. And I had told her this story about the Renaissance Festival porta potty. And she looked back at me, deadly serious, like, don't ruin this for me. And didn't think anything of that, but that night, we're in the tent and waiting for the usual kind of noises to happen. And there's some talking and some kissing. We're like, all right. And we hear, hey, is this the warming kind? And then in a few minutes, they burst out of their tent. And she ran for the lake. He went to the packaged food and started rubbing everything on his genitals to like absorb the gel. Yeah. They didn't want to go camping with us again after that. Well, that's my time, everybody. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for checking me out. I will hand it over.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for David McCary.
Thank you.